and welcome back to goldstocktrades.com. Today we have a new and special guest with us, Thomas Ulrich. Thomas is the CEO of Aston Bay Gold. It can be traded as BAY on the TSX Venture, and it also can be traded as ATBHF on the US OTC. Thanks, Thomas, for being here with us today and for giving us an update into the current drilling program at the Buckingham Gold property in Virginia.
Thanks, Jeb. It's great to be here.
Well, it's an exciting time for the gold sector. The gold price is breaking out. The majors and the mid-tier producers are looking for new discoveries, and it's especially in the USA and especially on the East Coast. So, Thomas, could you talk about your background and what Aston Bay is doing right now, drilling at this Buckingham Gold property in Virginia?
Sure. Well, I've been a geologist in geosciences for the past 30 years, exploration geologist, and most of that time. I've been worked for a few big companies, Self-Stodge back in the old days, Antofagasta, the big Chilean copper mining outfit, and I've also worked for some juniors. I think that most recently was with Almaden Minerals. I made a nice discovery down in Mexico down there, and that was a good feeling, one I'd like to recreate, which is what really brought me back into the junior industry after working for the majors for a while. I really wanted to make that discovery again. I love that feeling, and I love getting out there and finding something new. And it's really that's what brought me to Aston Bay.
Yeah, it's an exciting time for Aston Bay. You're drilling again in Virginia, and I looked at the results from June of 2019 when you drilled there last time. Could you highlight? Well, let's first highlight the project in Virginia, and especially the person that is working closely with you as an advisor, Don Taylor. It's important for investors to realize that Don is just not a typical geologist. He's coming off a major win with the sale of his discovery to South 32. Could you highlight the property and the people behind the property, and Don Taylor and the significance of the team behind this project?
Sure. Maybe I could just tell you a little bit about Don Taylor. Again, Don Taylor's a very well experienced geologist, been working in the industry since the 80s, I believe, or perhaps, not probably the 80s. Worked all across the United States, but formerly one of the regional geologists for BHP. But in the early 2000s, BHP pulled out of exploration in North America. It kind of set Don free after working predominantly on the East Coast for a couple decades. Don started two companies. One was Wildcat Silver that became Arizona Mining. That was the company that was bought by South 32 about 2 years ago right now, and that was for about, I think, $1.3 billion US dollars. A great win for those shareholders. The other company he started was a company called Jack's Fork Exploration that was looking for gold and base metals in Virginia. Now, people have kind of forgotten about Virginia as a mining destination, but there is a significant amount of base metals, a lot of them undiscovered in Virginia, and also a significant mining history for gold. Virginia and the states of North and South Carolina were the preeminent gold mining districts in the United States prior to the California gold rush, and really that's what that potential is really what drew Don to Virginia after working on the East Coast for a couple of decades, and this is where he started his second company, and this one was a privately held company, so this is where Don put his money and his colleagues and friends' money. He really has a conviction that there's discoveries to be made here. Unfortunately, the way the markets played out, Don started both companies up in 2008. So, of course, that 2008 didn't end well, and it became very difficult to raise money to get any work done. So, unfortunately, with the privately held company in Virginia, it really just didn't get the amount of exploration work done on it that Don would have preferred. He ended up working the Arizona zinc project because he was able to raise money in the public markets there. The Virginia project kind of languished, and really that's where we came in as Aston Bay. I had seen the project when I was with Antofagasta Minerals. I was originally looking at it for the copper potential, but I loved everything about it. I love the discovery potential there for both base metals and gold, and I love the jurisdiction. It is one of the best jurisdictions, I would say, in the world that you can work in. It's very easy to work there. Essentially, to make perhaps a long story short, we came to an agreement with Don. He liked our company. We liked him and his company. We came to a deal where we essentially bought Don Taylor's private company for all shares. So we picked up his company, and Don stayed on to continue to do what he loves, which would be make discoveries and direct that exploration. So Don's advising our work down there, and of course he brings up not only advice but also and obviously experience, having worked in this area for decades, but he also has the relationships with the people in the area down there that's just absolutely critical for getting work done.
Yes, it's incredible to be working with someone who just has come off a major win and one of the biggest discoveries in the USA with South 32. And now you release news this week that drilling has just started back in Central Virginia, USA on June 15th, 2020, that drilling is going to resume in Virginia. Before we discuss the drilling program, let's discuss the Appalachian Gold Belt, because you mentioned that Don's been very focused on this gold properties in Virginia, and you've actually searched all over and you focused on this project on the Appalachian Gold Belt. We know that recently Remarco, which I think became Oceana Gold, the Howley mine, has come back into production on the east coast of the USA. And that's been sort of a neglected area for gold exploration because everyone moved out west to the Nevada when the Nevada and the California gold rush started. But there seems to be a lot of gold that's left behind. And so if you could just highlight that for investors that are new to gold investing and gold mining, how important this East Coast and the Appalachian Gold Belt, why you really focused on this.
Yeah, well, it's the history of mining and the history of not mining there. The sort of suspension of exploration and mining in the East Coast is really where the opportunity lies here. Again, we were talking about how this area was the preeminent gold mining district prior to the California gold rush. That was 1850 roundabout, right? So really it just became, when the California gold fields opened up, it just became so much easier to go there and strike it rich. And of course there's the mania associated with that. And then subsequently, things moved up, into the Yukon. Great mania for gold on the West Coast. Here on the East Coast, not only did that sort of suck the wind out of the exploration sales on the East Coast, we also had a civil war, right in that area. Obviously, that's going to be disruptive. So really, pretty much, you have a lot of historic workings. Showings really haven't been touched since 1850, and that's a great exploration opportunity for us because we know the science of both exploration and mining has advanced significantly since 1850. You think 1850 they didn't have geochemistry, these the sort of high-end assay tests that we can do right now to help make discoveries. They didn't have geophysics. They didn't have simple things that we really take for granted in exploration today, like drilling. They did not have drills. You can imagine how difficult it would be to make a discovery without the diamond drill. So really, you ended up with a lot of these properties where really they were discovered because they were pretty much sticking out of the ground. You had visible gold sticking out of the ground, and the exploration and mining method was really just to follow the veins. And then if they pinched out or if they got too deep, the mines would be abandoned. And it's not just the exploration reports, finding extensions of known mineralization difficult without the modern exploration techniques that we have today. But the other thing is the mining techniques. Back then they didn't have the kind of pumping technology that we have today that allow you to mine very deep and extract all the water that's going to fill into the hole that you're creating. And then, so a lot of these mines are quite shallow, 125, 150 feet. It's very common for some of these mines. It just became too difficult to mine any deeper back then. And then the other thing that's really changed is, of course, the extraction techniques. We're able to economically extract metals, gold particularly, at much lower concentrations. In the 1850s, something like 5 or 10 grams of gold per ton. That's really not economic, with the extraction techniques that they would have had in those days, or would be marginal at best. Nowadays, that's almost considered high grade, if you have enough of it. So you can. This gives companies an opportunity to go into an area and essentially look at it with both, what you can call a modern mining mindset, and that's both, the modern exploration techniques, the modern mining techniques, and the modern extractive techniques that can make something that may not have been a big deal in 1850, but it can be very significant today. And you don't have to go look any further than Remarco's work down at Hale. Some people pronounce it Haley, H-A-L-E, H-A-I-L-E. Now that's an area where a known historic drilling, high-grade veins, historically mined, but nobody really did what Remarco did, was to come in there with that modern mindset, say, look, okay, we have some high-grade veins, but we also have a disseminated halo of lower-grade mineralization that might be economic today. And they went in and essentially turned something that was really not much of a small high-grade showing into something that the Oceana Gold now owns, and that's about a 5 million ounce deposit. So pretty exciting.
You said it's a 5 million ounce deposit there, that Hale mine.
That's right.
Wow, that's a significant deposit on the East Coast. And so, this is excellent management team. We're speaking with Aston Bay Gold. It's the CEO is Thomas Ulrich. The symbol is BAY on the TSX Venture. It's also can be traded on the OTC as ATBHF. They're drilling for high-grade gold in Virginia. Thomas, last June, almost a year ago, I think you announced the original discovery. Could you highlight that you're following up what you're following up on here?
Yeah, well, actually, this project, this is one of the projects that we're working on in Virginia. This is what we're calling our Buckingham Gold project. It's a brand new discovery. It was first found just in 2016. High-grade gold, visible gold, sticking essentially at the surface, sticking right to the ground. It has never been mined. It's pretty kind of boggles your mind. But they were picking up grab samples at the surface there of over 700 grams per ton gold. That is significant. We've come back and we've been proving it up with some diamond drilling, and we've discovered two styles of mineralization. We drilled 6 holes last spring, and the results came out last summer. Encourage you to go to the website and you can see the full set of results. All 6 holes, every hole hit gold, which is definitely a good sign. But just an example of some of the hits, we had almost 36 grams over just over 2 meters, 36 grams per ton. That's an ounce, so that's pretty significant. And another hole, 24, almost 25 grams over 3.6 meters. And included in there is 62 grams over 1.4 meters. These are high-grade hits, and we think, with what we see at the surface, we think this is a sort of vertical or sub-vertical vein that we think this gold comes right to the surface. And there's nothing like high-grade gold at the surface to make for a very potentially profitable mine down the road here. And we're hitting not only the high-grade vein style mineralization, we're also hitting other more disseminated style of gold mineralization. So with the disseminated mineralization, it's lower grade, but we hit it over a much larger area. So in one hole, we hit 2 zones of disseminated mineralization very close together, and the 2 of them together are about 40 meters of 2 grams per ton. On average, so that's pretty significant. If you can find enough of, even though it's lower grade, you can really build up some significant ounces. And again, really, both of these styles of mineralization together, the high grade veins, nice clean gold in quartz, and the disseminated mineralization spatially associated with it at least, it does make you think about the Hale mine. We do get the similar styles of mineralization there. It's not exactly the same, but again, I think what we're doing here and what we've discovered here at Buckingham is something that we can work up like Hale. Again, to go in there, continue with the exploration, look not just for the high-grade veins, but chase some of these disseminated zones, see how many ounces we can work up, and hopefully down the road have a significant mine. So that was our drilling from last summer, or last spring and summer. So that was 6 holes. We've just come back in March. We started a new program at the beginning of March. We had originally intended to drill 2,000 meters. We didn't quite get all those meters drilled until we had to shut down due to some COVID restrictions. But we did get about just over 1,200 meters drilled in 10 holes. The rock, or the core from those holes have been processed in our core shack, and they're just now on their way to the lab. So we have 10 holes that we expect we should see some results from lab results, or half the results, end of this month or early July, depending on how busy they are at the lab. But we expect from what we've seen in the holes, visually, we do expect to have results. Some results were very comparable to our program from last summer. The visual characteristics are very similar.
And investors should look at the June 10th news release, where samples are being analyzed right now, and that's including the metallic screen assaying of the visible alteration and mineralization, which includes the visible gold, which is quite exciting going into this drilling program. So I really suggest investors to look at the website at astonbayholdings.com. You can get more information by emailing Thomas at thomas.ulrich@astonbayholdings.com if you have any questions, or or calling him at 416-456-3516. You can get a lot of information on the website at Aston Bay Holdings. Thank you, Thomas, for being here with us today, for highlighting Aston Bay before as the drilling program gets started here. It can be traded as BAY on the TSX Venture and as ATBHF on the USOTC. Thanks, Thomas. Is there anything else that you'd like to conclude with as a final message?
We're drilling again, started that Monday, so we're going to continue with this program. So we expect to hear more news from us down the road here.